Texas News Primetime, Students for Democratic Society protests for reproductive rights.
UT sets enrollment record.
And nurses at Ascension Healthcare vote to unionize. You're watching Texas News Primetime, news made for Longhorns. You gotta go back up. Good evening and welcome to Texas News Primetime for Monday, September 26th. I'm Kevin Myers.
And I'm Hope Vanderberg. Thank you for watching.
On Saturday, October 8th, Vice President Kamala Harris will deliver the keynote address for the Texas Democratic Party's annual Johnson and Jordan reception. The party hopes to raise funds for mail-in voting and campaign organizing ahead of the November 8th general elections.
The University of Texas at Austin hit a new record for matriculating students. According to the preliminary data for fall 2022, over 52,000 students enrolled at UT. The latest registration numbers beat the record set 20 years ago by about 100 students. The new record also includes a higher percentage of historically underrepresented groups. About 30% of the student body includes people who identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color.
Ascension Seton Medical Center's nurses voted to unionize last week. The nurses now belong to the National Nurses United, America's largest nursing union. This decision covers 800 nurses at the hospital and makes Ascension Seton the largest hospital to unionize in Texas. Nurses cited pay, staffing, and the pandemic as factors which prompted this decision.
The Austin Students for a Democratic Society held a rally supporting women's and reproductive rights. TNP's Ariba Barmol, Joseph Sweeney, and Angie Santos attended the rally. Let's take a look.
If you're ever walking down Speedway and hear students chanting,
"Stand up, fight back!"
you're likely hearing the voice of our campus's chapter of Students for a Democratic Society.
We organized this rally in response to a National Day of Action, which was put on by Students for a Democratic Society. We're just a local campus chapter of the national organization.
Since the overturning of the landmark Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade in June, the group has been nonstop organizing protests in favor of reproductive rights.
All the local bills that are restricting abortion rights. So we called the rally to, gather a bunch of students and community members together to speak out against that.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! The heartbeat bill has got to go!
As of September 1st, abortions are no longer legal in Texas past the first 6 weeks. The group hopes their efforts can change this.
Keep abortion safe and legal!
It was great to see a good turnout of people who are willing to raise their voices and really speak up for women's reproductive rights.
For Texas News Primetime, this is Joseph Sweeney.
Meteorologists fear substantial destruction from Tropical Storm Ian, as Ian is primed to become a Category 4 storm by midweek. As of noon today, Ian has propped up winds up to 85 miles per hour, moving northwest at a rate of 13 miles per hour. As a result, the entire state of Florida has declared a state of emergency.
Researchers at UT, in collaboration with several other universities, found that Black and Latinx adults experience higher rates of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias than non-white Hispanic people do. Elizabeth Munoz, lead author of this study, said, quote, "This study shows that experiencing discrimination because of one's ethnic group or where they are born is a risk factor," end quote. The study found that individuals who immigrated to the U.S. were less likely to fall victim to this effect.
Protests have broken out across Iran and Europe following the death of Mahsa Amini in the custody of the morality police. According to news reports from Iran, over 30 people have died, but activists say the number is probably closer to 50. Amini was detained for violating hijab requirements in Iran. An interview with President Ibrahim Raisi in New York was canceled by CNN's Christiane Amanpour after the president demanded she wear a headscarf. Ukraine
has made significant advances reclaiming territory lost to Russia, particularly particularly in the Luhansk region. This comes after the Kremlin announces partial mobilization of 300,000 Russian soldiers. Adult males are fleeing Russia. Those staying to protest the mobilization have reportedly been arrested or detained. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has offered Russia soldiers protection if they surrender, promising humane treatment and assuring the soldiers they will not be sent back to Russia as prisoners of war.
On the anniversary of Hurricane Maria, the U.S. Civil Rights Commission released a study finding that the Federal Emergency Management Agency failed to properly help Puerto Rico in 2017. This is the first time the Commission has evaluated if FEMA provided proper aid. The majority of difficulties were found in impoverished areas and for people with disabilities. Quote, FEMA received more than 1 million applications for individual housing assistance in Puerto Rico and denied 60% of them, end quote. Coming up, Joseph Sweeney will be bringing you up to date in the world of business, and Michelle Tamayo will tell you what's going on in STEM news. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. Here with me now is TNP business correspondent Joseph Sweeney. What's happening in the world of business, Joseph?
Well, the chief financial officer of Yeti, Paul Carbone, has resigned effective October 28th. Since joining the company in 2018, Carbone has helped transition Yeti from a private entity to a public company. He will be leaving the Yeti headquarters in Austin to pursue business in Boston, allowing him to be closer to his family. Despite Intel announcing expansion plans, shares are at their lowest since May of 2016. However, other companies like Nvidia have risen nearly 200% in the face of supply chain shortages and a slowing economy. Investors are hoping that their new CEO will be able to turn the company around soon. According to data from Cerium, American Airlines runs the most flights to Austin from the Dallas-Fort Worth airport compared to other destinations, despite running 14 flights a day from DFW to Austin and having over 400 flights scheduled this month. The route is in the bottom quartile in terms of profitability.
Thanks, Joseph, so much for coming on to talk about business. Now, coming on to the show to talk about STEM news is Michelle Tamayo. What's going on in terms of STEM, Michelle?
Thank you so much, Kevin. A UK-based company, Sept, has made a mask for cows that catches methane. It works by capturing burps from cows and oxidizing the methane, creating CO2 in water as a byproduct. Methane is 80 times more potent than CO2, and if implemented on a large scale, the masks are projected to get rid of 60% of methane emissions from the cattle industry. UT Austin and UC San Diego researchers have become the first to successfully simulate how pollutants affect climate and air quality. The team ran simulations in different regions that produced identical aerosol emissions and measured how temperature, precipitation, and surface air quality were affected across the globe. They compared societal costs of aerosol impacts to carbon dioxide emissions in the same regions. Aerosol emissions, quote, produce climate and air quality effects that range 2 to more than 10 times as strong, end quote. Back in November of 2021, NASA launched a spacecraft the size of a school bus 7 million miles away. The plan was to successfully divert an asteroid from its orbit. As of today, the spacecraft hit the asteroid at exactly 6:14 p.m. Central Time. NASA also sent a spacecraft to take pictures and will be releasing them in the next couple of days.
Thanks, Michelle. Up next is Tommy Yarish with sports. We'll catch you right after this break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Coming on for our special segment of Press Box on Primetime is Tommy Yarish. How are you doing today, Tommy?
Doing great, Hope. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, Tommy, take me through what happened this weekend with the Longhorns in Lubbock.
Yeah, it was certainly a weekend for Texas at Lubbock. Potentially the last time these two teams play. Let's start in the first quarter. Steve Sarkisian loves this three running back look alongside Hudson Card, and it works out early for him. Keelan Robinson stumbles his way into a touchdown for Texas 7-0 Longhorns early on in Lubbock, and you see Keelan's eating it up, and Hudson Card is pumped up. Love to see it for Texas fans from 35 yards out. Red Raiders going to come fighting right back, though. Donovan Smith keeps it and evens the score from 4 yards out. Tortillas are going to be flying everywhere in Jones AT&T Stadium out in Lubbock. After a Burt Auburn field goal, they'll continue to do so as Smith hits Taj Brooks on a wheel route from 19 yards out. Zach Kitley going into his bag. Red Raiders take a 14-10 lead. There's Bryce Ramirez, the injured Texas linebacker, loving it in the booth. After an interception in the drive prior, here's the best play of Hudson Card's career as a Texas Longhorns. Avoids the pressure, steps up in the pocket, and finds a wide open Xavier Worthy down the field for the score. 39 yards to be exact. That gives Texas the lead back. First touchdown of the year for Worthy. It's about time for him. Horns get the ball back with 30 seconds in the half, and Bijan Robinson does what Bijan Robinson does best. Makes it look easy from 8 yards out. The Heisman candidate puts it in, and it's a 2-score lead for Texas at the half. Red Raiders start the second half with a field goal, but here comes number 5 again for Texas. He's going to tiptoe down the sideline. Not sure how he keeps his balance here. But then again, we're not sure how Bijan makes enough great plays in the white and burnt orange. 40 yards out. Pushes the lead to 14, but back comes Texas Tech not too far after that. A 10-play drive capped off with a 1-yard Sir Roderick Thompson touchdown, and the energy is shifting in Lubbock. Into the fourth quarter now. Texas Tech going to start this drive in great field position, and they capitalize. It's Baylor Cupp making the grab for a 19-yard score. We're all tied up at 31 apiece. Then after an 11-play drive for Tech that resulted in a go-ahead field goal, Texas responds with a 9-second drive to set up Burt Auburn for a game-tying field goal as time expires. Texas should not even be in this game, but somehow we're going to overtime. Longhorns get the ball to start, but it's going to be a rare fumble from Bijan Robinson. That's just his 3rd fumble in over 700 snaps for the Longhorns. That turns it over, and that sets up Trey Wolf for a game-winning 20-yard field goal for Texas Tech. He nails it. 37-34 your final score. Joey McGuire gets a statement win, and Texas Tech picks up a huge win, their first home win over the Longhorns since the infamous Michael Crabtree catch back in 2008. Everybody here at Texas remembers that game, and they certainly won't want to remember this one.
Tommy, what went wrong for the Longhorns on Saturday in Lubbock?
Well, it really was a long list, but I think there were 2 huge difference makers, and the more important of the 2 was that the Red Raiders converted 6 times on 4th down in 8 attempts. 5 of those 6 times came on scoring drives, and that just can't happen if you want to win a football game. It's the worst we've seen this Texas defense play this year, and I think it really started in the secondary and in the middle of the field. Pressure was being applied onto Donovan Smith, but the defensive front got to him 2 times in the 100 plays that Texas Tech ran on defense. Their long drives drained both the clock and the Texas defense energy-wise, which is never a recipe for success. Secondly, the loss of Xavier Worthy really hurt this game plan. You could tell going into this game that Steve Sarkisian wanted to get him the ball in the first half, and once he departed with injury, there wasn't really much of a groove on offense, and after that, you just kind of saw everything kill out.
What do you think is going to have to change this week to beat West Virginia?
Yeah, West Virginia is certainly a really good team. I think overall we need to see a strong response from this team. After losing a heartbreaking game last year to Oklahoma, we never saw the Texas team after that, the same Texas team that is, and Steve Sarkisian has said that himself. This is a very winnable game for Texas by all means, and we need to see that this team can respond to adversity unlike what they did a year ago, and they can even play well after struggling so much the week prior. I think the key to that is getting Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy back healthy. Whether or not they both come back this week would certainly be big, because those are the 2 guys that get this engine going for Texas. Worst case, if they can't, there's got to be a strong presence in the run game from Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. Didn't see it a lot last week, but we did see it a lot against UTSA. That was a huge reason why they beat the Roadrunners. They need a similar performance if Quinn and Xavier can't go.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for coming on Press Box on Primetime. Coming up next is Entertainment with Angie Santos.
Welcome back to Texas News Primetime. With us now is TSTV News entertainment correspondent, entertainment correspondent to discuss happenings in the entertainment world. Welcome on, Angie.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be on tonight. So what's currently going on, specifically here in Austin, is that Harry Styles and Bethel were both in Austin today. And I think it just feels like a sort of multiverse event, and a part of me was hoping that they were going to be at each other's events.
Yeah.
But sadly, that did not happen. I was kind of expecting it at the Bethel rally, but aside from that, Harry Styles is surrounded with controversy surrounding the Don't Worry Darling drama. And that was obvious at the premiere, but rumors have been circulating even before, with a conversation leaks with the director and Shia LaBeouf as well, who was then replaced by Harry Styles. And other sources claiming that Olivia and Florence Pugh getting into screaming matches during the production. Again, this is all speculation, but everything about this movie has been speculation so far.
Yeah, then I also hear that Elton John has received a major award from President Biden.
Oh, yes. Elton was surprised at the White House by President Biden with the National Humanitarian Medal. And aside from his music being a national treasure, so has his humanitarian work that has raised millions for HIV and AIDS. And I just think it's amazing the work that he's done and using his platform specifically with an extremely stigmatized topic.
So also I hear, what can you tell us about Rihanna? Speculation that she'll be performing at the 2023 Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes, so I'm very excited for Rihanna to perform, and I'm also confident that she's going to drop new music, perhaps a new album, since she's been in several different fields these last few years, except music. She's been dominating it with Fenty Beauty, Skin, and her lingerie brand. So quick question, do you like Rihanna, Kevin?
I think so. I've only listened to a couple of her songs, but I'm always like, these are good songs.
What's your favorite song?
I don't think I can remember the names of the songs, completely honest. Because every Rihanna song I've heard I've liked, so yes.
Okay, that's fair. So now that Matthew McConaughey has also been teased as a potential presidential candidate, which is a little interesting considering he was also thinking of running for Texas governor, but ultimately didn't go in that direction. He has been recently in the field of politics after the shooting in his hometown, Uvalde. And he has visited Washington to talk about gun reform and legislation. Admittedly, though, I'm not sure what his policies would look like.
Yeah, he seems like sort of an independent candidate, just because I haven't heard enough of him speak to see him profile as like a Democrat, but he's clearly not an Abbott fan, so I don't profile him as a Republican either. Definitely an interesting candidate who loves to tease the public.
Yeah, and I have also yet to see him on campus, despite him being employed by UT. Also, fun fact, he has a 4.6 out of 5 rating on Read My Professor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Angela. And as always, you can follow Texas News Primetime and TSTV News on social media just by searching our names. Also, take us with you on the go by subscribing to our podcast, now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. From all of us at TSTV News, thank you for starting your week with us this evening. Now, go out and change your world.